Uh, Welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming. As Randy introduced me, I'm Jakub Klausa. I'm going to talk about WebRTC today. On a daily basis, I'm working with SS7 technologies. I mostly do SS7 stuff, but in my after-hour life, I do a lot of VoIP things. And nowadays, I'm fiddling with WebRTC. So at the beginning, when I thought about the talk I'm going to give, I imagined giving a very nice demo, presenting with a lot of whistles and stuff. But then I looked at the schedule. I noticed I'm talking just before Tim Panton, who is very well known for giving awesome demos. So I decided not to enter the competition, just for the sake of not losing it, for sure. So I have to reinvent my talk, and I decided to talk about something different. I mean, AstriCon is known as a highly technical conference. Everyone is talking about highly, deeply technical stuff, details, and stuff like that. So I decided to take one step back and talk about the ideas that the technology can or will allow to bring to life. So today I have 3 stories to tell. Three stories to tell you. Not so long ago, I was contacted by this open source foundation, or Foundation for Open Source, which is a Polish foundation interested in all things open source and making everyone use open source in just about anywhere, in government, in business, and wherever it's possible and feasible. So we sat down and talked about what we can do to make open source a viable option for government and business use cases. And after a few meetings, there was one of the nights I sat down and browsed the internet, and I came up with a YouTube video. It's a famous song. I mean, it was in Europe at least. What struck me is that the lady is interpreting the famous song in sign language. I mean, come on. That's the first time I've noticed people doing that. It struck me. So I thought, video, sign language, disabled people, it's that simple. And that's how the first case came in with the foundation. It's kind of 112, or in the US it would be E911 kind of system for hearing or speaking impaired people. Nowadays, all the hearing or speaking disabled people can do with telephony is use boxes like those, where they can communicate over the phone lines, but then it's not very efficient and not really widespread. So not only are they disabled, they have problems calling their ambulances, their fire trucks, and stuff like that. So with the known cliche that the picture is worth 1,000 words, and subsequently video being worth even more, we decided to build a system that will allow the dispatchers, trained dispatchers, to communicate with the disabled people over the video link built over WebRTC. It really enables the disabled people to communicate effectively. And the second thing is, of course, when you have the video link, you can not only communicate with the sign language, you can also request the person calling to show you around, for example. So there are additional gains to be had from the way of communicating like that. Of course, as the 112 number in Europe is universal for the whole European Union, and it being almost 30 countries, it's complicated to implement it straight ahead. It's not like the time to market is counted in weeks or months. It probably will be counted in years. But there's a proposal for that on the table. There are people pushing for it. It's probably going to happen in some time. It will be a good publicity. If nothing else, it will be a good publicity for the government, and at low cost at that. And it will enable people already disabled people to have their lives just a little bit easier. What is the additional gain or additional pro for this mode of contact for the emergency services is that, well, WebRTC works on a mobile from day one. So the bottom one of the previous slides, which is rarely seen on the payphone, by the payphones, or, well, generally anywhere, could be replaced with any smartphone, just about any smartphone, which are plenty in your surroundings. So the disabled people, well, they can carry one on them, but if they don't, they can use anyone's phone to just make the call. So that's case one. Case two. There's a thing, I don't know if it's the same thing here in the US, but in Poland we have something called Blueline. It's emergency line telephone service run by the police for reporting any domestic abuse and child abuse and stuff like that. Of course, it being a telephony service, it has its limitations. So after contacting the people running it, we got, well, they told us they would have some use for a video service that the people in need would call and report possibly the situations as they progress or shortly after, and police running the service as a trusted third party could record it and use further down the line in court as for now supporting evidence, along with things like police reports and medical abductions and stuff like that. But possibly in the future it will be made into law that this recording made by the trusting third party can be something more. And there is the case 3. There is an ongoing project in Poland which involves making all the governmental services available for disabled people. I mean, hearing, speaking impaired people. So nowadays it works like this. You go to any official building, and in the lobby they have this cheap yelling voice phone. You can, from that phone, you can call a sign language translator, and he or she will direct you to the right room, to the right person, to the right office, and stuff like that. Of course, it somehow works, but it's highly inefficient because when you have to deal with 2 or 3 or 4 offices in a row, every time you have to come back, and occasionally when you want something to, well, where there's a problem in some of the offices, you have to come back, and it's inefficient. It's inefficient. So there is, 3. So there is a project on the table to, of course, the situation as it is today could be easily solved with buying additional license or for every governmental worker to install the appropriate software on their computers and have this service available at the desk of every government or official, at least those dealing with the clients. But it's highly cost inefficient, and it's a problem to deploy such an amount of software on so, well, let me say, well, uneven network. I mean, there are a lot of versions of Windows. Some of them are really outdated and can be upgraded because of some legacy software and stuff like that. So there's a problem. And the managers running this project were very interested in doing it so everyone can access it without any significant additional cost, which WebRTC would allow, and would allow easily. And additionally, we can deploy small computers like tablets and stuff like that to hand over to the interested parties to go through the offices with, and have their assistant translating for them to make their lives a bit easier. And as a bonus to that, of course, it would be easy to add language translation. Of course, language translation doesn't require video, but it makes things easier. I can speak for myself only, but I think most people speaking their second and third language can attest to that seeing the person speaking this language makes it easier to understand, not just hearing their voice. It makes it just a bit easier to understand what they're saying and communicating in general. So as a free bonus, they can just run this language translation service for people dealing with passports, visas, and stuff like that, and it would be quite easy and cost-effective, which is important. Of course, there are many more things to be done with WebRTC. There are just 3 examples how we can wisely use the technology to ease some of the problems met in real life by disabled or mostly disabled people, because that's what most of the cases deal with. And of course, there are the video conferences and just plain video calls, the Skype kind you can do with the WebRTC. Everyone is talking about, but those cases I think I described are a very good example how to use the technology to make some greater good. Okay. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. Go ahead.
When you were talking about mobile phones, you said that WebRTC works for both of them. Does it work with iPhone?
I don't have an iPhone, so I can't say it firsthand, but it works in Chrome, so I imagine if there is a Chrome for iPhone, iOS, so I imagine it would.
Probably it doesn't work because of
Oh,
Apple
it doesn't. Okay, sorry.
security.
It works for most of Android phones. Okay.
Okay.
That's a good point. Does anybody know about that? That's a great question. Because of the security of security of Apple. Great. Is this answering the question? Okay.
Yeah, and this is a third-hand answer, but at the WebRTC conference, they mentioned that Chrome on the iPhone
Doesn't
was
do it.
actually not
Okay.
Chrome, it was actually Safari underneath.
Oh,
And
WebKit
Apple may
engine.
be coming to the party, albeit slowly, but right now I don't believe you can do that.
Well, the latecomer to the market of WebRTC, the biggest latecomer is probably Microsoft, but they are coming. We've met with them for a few things, and they assured us that WebRTC is coming to Internet Explorer, so I wouldn't even imagine Apple not implementing it. It's just a matter of time. And as I mentioned, all of the project will take time to implement on a large scale. They're running as some kind of demos, trials, and stuff like that. But to implement projects like this on a national scale or pan-national, like European Union scale, it takes time and a lot of time. It's not business-like attitude where you want to get to market in the shortest amount of time possible. They want, well, you know how it is with governments. It takes time. It takes time. But it will eventually get there, I imagine.
Any other questions? Raise your hand high because my vision is a little blurred this morning.
And to extend that, we've met with Tim yesterday to talk about our talks, and I told him what I'm going to talk about, and he showed me, well, mentioned really, not showed, very interesting piece of software he found on the net. It's Seriously.js, right?
Seriously.js.
Seriously.js. It's a library for manipulating WebRTC video streams live in real time. And if you use some of you I see use Macs, there is a accessibility feature to allow people with sight problems to see the screen better with what is the feature doing?
So it uses WebGL.
I mean the Mac feature to help the.
There's a keystroke you can do on the Mac which automatically raises the contrast. So there's like a 3-button keystroke on the Mac that you can hit, and you get a high contrast version of your screen. So you could do the same sort of thing, but for users. I mean, I've got this in night vision mode, but
you can do all kinds of manipulation.
So what's really cool about this is that it's just WebRTC, right? So I found this library, and about I don't know, half an hour later, I managed to layer in the this graphic processing, and it's just amazing. It's just like 4 lines of JavaScript, and you can reprocess the image. And as we were saying earlier, this is from an Android phone. This is WebRTC running on an Android phone, out over the network to a Mac running Chrome. So there's nothing clever here. There's nothing extraordinary. I haven't bought a signal processing package. I've just downloaded some JavaScript off the web, and I can pick all these kind of random, not random. Some of them are useful. So we can go into kind of sepia. It actually works better Chrome to Chrome. The processing on this is a little bit limited, but I think it's an amazing piece of software, and I'll put you in the picture now, Randy. So what you've got here is WebRTC on a handset calling to a Mac that is then doing online signal processing in JavaScript to rewrite the image to meet some arbitrary criteria of mine. I mean, there are some useful ones in here, like, you know, that's inverted. I don't know if that's useful, but you might have a site thing that for that was useful. Sorry, go on. Take that.
I wanted to mention something. First of all, the NSA is pleased to be watching these images. That's why there's a little bit of lag. They're analyzing them real time. The real time part is, seriously though, because this is about what's the use of WebRTC. I don't have a URL, but there's a great demo that was circulating. I think it was on Google+, but it's probably available if you look it up. Someone had, for example, this is a great little quick demo of a baby monitor. So you've got two endpoints, like say 2 laptops, 2 devices that have cameras, and in the baby room you put your laptop, and obviously the child is on the camera, and then on the other end you contact it through WebRTC by clicking on the link. Do you have that for us? And the point is that the processing part that he's doing, the useful processing, might be motion detection. So this baby monitor rings on the monitor.
Yeah.
You've got the child. I don't think anybody's listening to me. The child camera rings the other end to alert you that the child is getting out of its crib or something like that. But whether this is useful or not, it's a very interesting demo because it actually does something. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real simple, but clever.
Yeah, there's a question there.
I might even get there before he speaks.
So actually the joke about the NSA is funny and whatnot. However, it does actually raise the question, when implementing WebRTC, we're gaining access to hardware and system resources on the individual device. What sort of additional security measures would we have to take to make sure that this isn't going to be manipulated for no good end?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, you can take as much precautions as possible, but well, it all happens in the browser. So, like Chrome and Mozilla, they are open source. You can use open source, semi-audited. I mean, you can audit it. Systems like that. You can avoid the closed system like Safari and Internet Explorer, which don't have WebRTC implemented just yet, but they will. That's about it. I can think of anything more you can do than, because it's run in the browser. So
I guess one of the things one might think about is the precursor to this, Flash and Adobe, and the number of patches and security issues. Weren't there specific security issues, maybe Tim knows this, or maybe you do, Jakub, about the Flash permissions and all of that? There was a time when that was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
But the point is, on WebRTC, I know that one of the things they were having a little bit of trouble with in the beginning was, how are we going to deal with this? How are we going to manage this stuff? And if you've tried any WebRTC, I think the browser implementations bring up prompts that ask you to accept. Now, I've had the impression sometimes I haven't accepted and it's worked, but that's probably just me not paying attention.
So probably there is a market for hardware. I mean hardware, just screen caps. I mean caps that cover your cameras in your laptop.
I've already got that.
So
gaffer's tape.
The market is about to take off with the
Yes.
WebRTC thing.
It's funny because all phones that have video have a little thing a little door you can close.
Really? Mine does.
Video phones? It doesn't? In that case, a little plug for the Polycom line. And I have one of those cameras to give away. If anyone here has a VVX 600, can you raise your hand? No? No, that's too bad. We'll try the next group.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I don't see any hands.
On the security thing,
Wait.
On the security thing, Matt and I are talking in 10 minutes' time about the deep, low-level stuff that goes on over the wire, which has there's a whole load of security stuff that gets tied up in that. But I think Jakub's right. You look after the browser first, and then start worrying about what's going over the wire.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jakub.